Hi, I'm Dave Caissy, founder of the Innovation Leaders Club. In this video, we'll be it's part of a series of our team that we have back in 2024, which was about implementing an ambitious innovation program. More precisely, in this video, we'll be looking at how we can optimize the program ecosystem in order to increase innovation capacity. You have ecosystem for the overall organization, but the issue is sometimes the ecosystem is too complicated to be really optimized. But when we're looking at innovation program, we have much more smaller ecosystem. And since a program is meant to be managed for multiple years, between 5 and 10 years in most cases, it's very worth it to look at optimizing this ecosystem so you can use the profit of this optimization for multiple years. So in order to optimize, there are a few steps. So first, steps 1 and 2, it's really to map and access the actual ecosystem. So it's really to know what are we talking about. And ultimately, step 3 and 4 is really how we can expand the innovation ecosystem, ultimately to increase capacity. And in some cases, we can do it with no additional costs. So in order to get that, we're going to look at, there's 2 parts of this video. First is really into looking for the qualitative optimization, and then we'll be looking at the quantitative optimization. So qualitative is about like having visuals, quantitative will get numbers. So let's start on the qualitative first. And let's start by talking about the internal ecosystem. Obviously, if you're looking for external to support you, you have to be good internally. So there's different key stakeholders when it comes to internal ecosystem. First one are the innovation professionals, then the supporting function, and ultimately the management team. We'll come back to each of them, but let's first look at the innovation professionals. So those are the people that when they get up in the morning, innovating, this is their main function. So we're talking about the R&D personnel, technician, the marketers, the product managers, people that will, in most cases, spend at least of their time to innovate. So it's their main function. So if at the end of the day, even worse, at the end of the week, they haven't innovated, it means they haven't done their job. So you get people that are committed, and the more committed they are, better would it be for your program. So we're going to talk about that later. Then there's the supporting roles. Those are the people that contribute to innovation. So sometimes they have special skills. They are related to sometimes the operation. They can support developing prototypes. They can support also deploying the innovation. But you have to keep in mind, these guys, let's say plant managers, quality coordinators, sales reps, and others, this is not their main function. So they spend less of their time on innovation, which means they have other responsibilities. So you will have to manage them very carefully, because if you don't get on top of their priority piles, you will not get things done. So you will have to follow up closely. And then there's some other function like the management team. And these guys, they don't spend a lot of time. Like if you're lucky, you will have 5-10% of their time. So in this case, CEO, CFO, COOs, which is chief of operation, but you could have directors, vice president in large organization, shareholders in small, medium enterprise. And so those people, most of the case, you will have those people to be sponsor of your program, and they will not necessarily be doing a lot of execution of it. And so then there's the external, and let's look at the closed innovation ecosystem. So this is what I call the partners, because there's the extended innovation ecosystem, which are more like the suppliers. It could be a supplier in your closed external ecosystem, but it will be a supplier that really contributes almost like daily to your program. So it will be really like a partner. So what you could have, it's they will have to interact with your organization on a regular basis. One thing that we have with close external, we share the vision of the program, and we clearly state that we're expecting them to contribute, in some cases share risk, or they could act as a market or technology watch. If they see something that could relate to your program, they should feed you with information. So it could be preferred suppliers, key customers, close partners, and others in some cases. And be aware of their role in the innovation program. So be clear what you expect. Select them strategically, intend to build a long-term relationship. Sometimes you will take the first project within a program to start bounding the relation, and more project you will do, closer you will get. And obviously, like I mentioned earlier, they're willing to share risk. In order to map the innovation ecosystem, we have different tools. So if you may reproduce those tools on your own computer, but if you would like the original tool that we have, just get in touch with us and we'll send it to you. So let's look at the Verse model. So this is one of the most popular when we're looking at ecosystem. So basically we have the internal organization, and then we have the external. And you see we have suppliers, clients, partners, research centers, and then let's say if I look at suppliers, then we have different suppliers. And if you look at the length of the line here, it's how close that supplier is to us. So supplier number 1 would be really, really close, while supplier number 2 would be a little bit far. It's more like maybe more like an extended suppliers today. So we could have that. It's very visual, easy to understand, but it's very hard to optimize. So this is why then looking at the solar system sometimes make more sense, because we have the internal, and then we have the close external and extended external that I was talking about. So the close external is your partners, and they're aware of your program, willing to share risk, you expect them to contribute. Extended external, it's more like there are suppliers and you pass contract, they supply to you, and that's stuff. So they're more like supplier based. And so what is interesting with the solar system, you notice closer to the center, it means that they're really closer to the program. So also you can divide your solar system in 2 sections, the actual contributor and the potential. So the one that are not contributing right now. And then you can also split it from left to right, from the creating value and deliver value. Creating value is the one that will support in developing the innovation, while delivered value is those that will contribute to operationalize the innovation afterwards. Let's say for physical product, you would have like creating value like a designer, industrial designer, but delivering value, you will have people at manufacturing that will manufacture for the next couple of years that product, or the sales that will sell that product, or the customer service that they will service clients that have questions with that products. So you see that the creating endeavor is interesting because we can look for balance. We have people in both a spectrum or the innovation life cycle. So obviously a circle is very hard to optimize a rectangle sheet. So this is why we kind of squish the circle to make them more like rectangle. So you notice we have the external, close external, 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 and right in the middle of internal, we have the innovation professional. Innovation professional that I was talking about earlier, the people that when they start working in the morning, that's their main job, to innovate. And so you see that we have, it's like a solar system in the sun. The innovation professional are the sun. And like a solar system, if you do recall your physics, it's a mass. And this is why you got planets that circle around. So if your innovation professional are not really efficient, ultimately you will have issues with the planets. They won't stay and being moving around the sun anymore. I'll give an example. A supplier, you ask for a sample, then the supplier works hard to provide that sample to you, and then the sample that you receive stays on the shelf for weeks, and then suppliers calls you, say, okay, I've sent you samples, what do you think? You say, oh, I didn't have time to look at that. And so next time you ask for a sample, you can be sure that supplier will not rush. But if, let's say, you receive a sample and the innovation professional do something with a sample right away, you get back to your supplier, you have some comments, and you ask for something to be improved, then they know you're serious about it, and then they will come back to you and they will keep supporting you. So obviously, if the sun is bright and if the sun has a mass, then you will have planets rotating around the sun. So then we can optimize qualitatively the innovation ecosystem using that visuals. So first thing that needs to do is really to map this ecosystem and make sure that all ecosystem are being mapped, and you validate with peers. So this is what you would validate. Am I missing some? Sometimes there's debate. Is it extended ecosystem or closed external ecosystem? Sometimes there's debates. Okay, this one should be innovation professional, but he's not spending a lot of time in the program right now. So where do I put it? So this is where you got to come to an agreement. Then we move to the second step, which is really to assess and enhance the actual ecosystem. And we can use color code. It's very easy to do. So first we have the greens. Those are the contributor that we feel that are optimized. So it means that they're really contributing to the level we're expecting. We ask them things and it gets delivered. And okay, I often get the question: could a green become like a much more darker green? And yeah, it can. But we feel right now they're doing their job and they contribute to the program. So we have the orange, which are not fully optimized. Maybe it's people within our program that they don't necessarily know exactly what they need to do, or they should be spending more time, but they are not right now. So we are expecting them, let's say, to be at 20%, but we feel that they're more like 5%. So, and there's really something that can be done. And ultimately, the red, those are the really underutilized contributor. And so those are, in some cases, maybe they're like lacking motivation and there's not much we can do. And so in the optimizing approach, you will see that the orange are the key. So you see now I have my innovation ecosystem with color code, and it shows us where to work. So then we can move to the again, validation with peers, and we can also try to enhance the actual ecosystem using the color code. And so the green, like I was talking, they can be dark green, but you'll see that there's more potential with the orange. So this is the green, and what is interesting is we have a client here, and is very motivated, is committed, but we have only one. So the issue is we may develop an innovation like almost custom developed for that client, and might not be representative of the need of the full segment. So be careful developing for one client, and this is why we'll be looking at adding more clients. So then we have the orange. So if we're looking at the orange, this is where we can get most gain with reasonable effort. And so we have to identify those and try to, how can we get them to become green? Let's say I'll take the operation. So we have someone in the operation. It should be like 10% of his time with us. But the issue is 10% is kind of spread during the week, and it's very hard to control. So how can we ensure that this 10% is being efficient? And I'll come back to a solution later in this video. Supplier, we have a supplier. Yeah, he's motivated, but maybe he does not necessarily know about the program. He does not know where we're going with that. We haven't shared a vision. So ultimately the supplier is not as committed as he should be. So then we have the red. Be careful. Select only a few of them because you would very unlikely move from a red to a green. Well, an orange, you can make it green. But a red, I think the best case scenario, you will move from red to orange. So in this case, I would let's say someone in sales. I'll give an example. Like you have someone in sales is not really contributing, but in fact, when you're really looking at the issue, is not fully motivated. So it may be the way that you will fix that is to get someone else. And same for testing facilities. But that testing facilities, again, if it's a bad supplier, just replace the supplier. So then we move into the expand innovation ecosystem. Now that we have assess and enhance, then we try to add new member. You'll see that's we're looking at the blue in the and we're at the bottom of this ecosystem design that we have. So we have in this case research center, we have suppliers, we have additional clients, and those clients are providing support to us and in testing and giving feedback, and so really concentrate the effort. Select a few of them when it's time to improve. So don't try to improve the overall ecosystem. I think the rule of thumb that we could use in this case is 1/3. 1/3 of could be selected as, okay, I'm going to work to improve. And when you have achieved improvement, then you may be looking for additional to improve. But more bang for the buck is when you can select a few. But the innovation professional they have to be always selected. Okay, so those are your key. This is the sun of the solar system. So ensure that you see, I have technical expert in product manager that are in orange. You have to target to get all innovation professional to be green. Okay, because we give example to the program, and then afterwards, then you may add some others and see how you can improve. So when you have, let's say, supplier B and research center that you would add them to your external ecosystem, but challenge yourself. Can they become also close external? Can I share my vision? Can I ask them to share risk? Can I ask them to act and to watch for new technology, new solution to where I want to go? And obviously, we're sharing information, confidential information, more cases, and that's why we have non-disclosure agreement behind this. So then we'll look at the, in some cases, I'm talking about mainly for large organization, we have business units. So what is interesting is we have to have the business unit that will collaborate with our innovation program, but be sure to have those business units within the internal ecosystem. I've seen some club members that they had business unit in the external ecosystem because they really had their internal ecosystem as their business unit only. But if you consider other business unit as being external, it will not be really appreciated by management team. Okay, so be sure to include business unit internally. Now that we have qualitatively design and measure and optimize the ecosystem, we're going to measure it quantitatively speaking. So basically, we're going to use a tool called the full-time equivalent calculation tool. So if you would like to get that tool, again, you may either design it by yourself or contact us, we'll provide it to you. So we'll be working initially with the innovation professional. So basically, if you look at the tool, the way design innovation professional, other function, management team, close external, extended external, and we have the current full-time equivalent, and we're going to try ultimately to optimize. So it's very simple, well-designed Excel tool, but let's zoom into this section here. You notice that we have the different function of the innovation professional, and we have, let's say, 0.5, which stand for 50%. Okay, so it's a scale from 0 to 1, 1 being 100%. So the challenge that we have, it's how can we have less people but more dedicated. In this case, you see when we have 50, between 50 and 80%, or below 80%, we have put it in orange. Why 50 is orange? Because someone say, yeah, he's spending 50% of his time on my program. It's good. Yeah, but the other 50% will compete against your program. Let's say that 50% outside your program, it's support operation. So what it would mean, there will be a multiple interruption within a day. So at the end of that week, at the end of that month, that 50% of the program may not be a real 50% efficient because of the interruption this person would have. So maybe it would end like a 35 or 40% equivalent. So the more competition you will have outside the program, more issues, and also management. Like it's tougher to manage people that have work on multiple things as it is to manage fewer people that are dedicated. When people are dedicated, it's very powerful because at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, if things haven't moved, that's their fault. Okay, and so they're really motivated to make it happen. So then we can do again the same for the operation, and then we can do for the other function, suppliers, and ultimately we ended up having a calculation that we could have a total of full-time equivalent, and then we can look at how can we optimize that. So let's have an example of this here. You see, I have some people that are a lot of people involved, so I have 9 resources. And in total, they do 4.55 full-time equivalents. So if you take 4.55 divided by 9 times 100, it will make a 51% dedication rate. And how can we have less people but more dedicated? And here's some example. Like we have 2 engineers, 50%. Let's say if they have similar competencies, and then we would have 1 full-time, the other one is not involved. See, doing those tricks, ultimately you have 7 resources, but 5.5, so 5.5 divided by 7, you ended up with almost 80% dedication rate. And this will improve management of that program. So, and then there's action that can be done. How can I, like I was talking about the engineers and being 100%, this one is 0. Then there's take over from some action. So there's an action plan. Very simple tool, but very efficient. You see, we use color code again, and we are looking for the way the tool it is designed. You will have green for the above 80%, but that really applies for the innovation professional, because the other function, even the suppliers, let's say 20%, like a 0.2 full-time equivalent for supplier, it may be good enough. And some people ask, how can you say, okay, it's a 1 full-time equivalent to a specific supplier? But the answer is really simple. Ask them what is the level of effort that they're putting for you in, and they will tell you. And some of the people say, yeah, okay, if I would do it internally, what would the amount of effort that I would do? And some people use that. But this is often the bias because, in fact, you don't have the expertise while the supplier has the expertise. And if he has the expertise, he does not have to spend a lot of time to make it happen. It's better to ask your supplier. You'll be surprised how much effort sometimes they put for you guys. Okay, then we have the operational function. Again, same approach. But keep in mind, these guys, this is not their main task. So we are not color code if they are, let's say, below 50% or below 20%. So these guys are really, they dedicate some of their times, and I'm going to show you how you can optimize this, knowing that you're not going to get them full time. And let's say if you're to get someone like a technician for the operation full time on your program, that will be the case here. Okay, 30% and I'm able to get it 100%. In this case, I either keep it in as a operational function or I transfer innovation professional, knowing that is now an R&D technician, for instance. Okay. So, but that may be for a short period of time, but let's say if it's for the next couple of years, then I will move it to that team. So let's have this in mind. And this is why it's important to get people involved. If we're looking at here, we have the cost of making changes, and later we make change. I'll give an example of physical product. We have order mold, and that mold needs to be modified in order to apply the chain. That would mean that we're going to send back the mold to the supplier, and they would have to. So that would take times and costs, and you see how costly would that be if you would make that change in the concept. Or let's say we are a bit prototype and we want to make the change when we have it's still electronic design or a 3D model. And so this is what we're trying to get the operation or the sales of people that will deliver the value, including your client, to be involved sooner, so we can leverage the fact that sooner we make changes, easier would that be. So let's talk about the external innovation ecosystem in this case. But just before we get into that, let's discuss people in the operation that sometimes we would have, let's say, 2% of their time, 3% of their time. So one bad habit our organization they have too many people within a program. So it really looks like this. So let's have a look at these visuals. So what we have here, we have if you look, we have too many people on the boat. If you take for example like the small canoe with 2 people, and they say they're 2 fully dedicated people, then they move really fast. While the other one has a lot of passenger, but still only 2 people rowing. The question is, do you have passenger in your program? So let's have a look at the right now into the okay. Let's look an example here. We have a development team with the actual full-time equivalent. We have Joe at 30%, Bob at 5%, Julie 5%, Peter 10%, Debbie 70%, Pamela 60%, Sharon at 10%, and Eric at 10%. Okay, so we have a total of 2 full-time equivalent. You notice that there's a lot of people that are not really dedicated to the program. So let's say to optimize this, what I would try to do is I would do this. First, Joe is an expert. I'm lucky to have it 30%, but I will not have it more. Anyway, his expertise may be not more than 30% required. So I would keep Joe at 30%. Then the other people will not be part of the innovation team per se, but they will just be consulted at design reviews or at gate meetings, for instance. But what I will do, I will negotiate to get Debbie and Pamela dedicated. In this case, this organization, they don't want to put 100% dedication because they say, okay, these guys have expertise in past projects and we still want to, in some cases, support operation, answer question. We still want to also train, develop these guys. So 90% for this organization is like full play. So you see, I have 2.1 in this case, I have 2. It's almost, so it would cost the same for the organization. But you see, we have to make changes to make Pamela to be like dedicated and Debbie, and these guys will make things happen. But what about Joe? Is at 30%. And I told you that dedication is key. But how you dedicate someone, if it's 0.3 days per week, what we'll do is I will pick the day. Okay? So I'll give an example. I want Joe to be with us every Wednesday, the entire day, and Friday morning. So Joe will be dedicated to the innovation program for that day. 30% means like a day and a half. So then let's look at selecting times and blocking the agenda, and even have Joe to come and sit together with the innovation teams. I have a spare desk for Joe, and he put like a message, that the absentee message, to his computer, and then he's with you guys for that part. So last but not the least is the management team, and again, you can optimize them, but these guys, in some cases, when you have them too much, it could be an issue, but most of the time they are sponsors, and it works quite well. So then you can move into the close external. You can again look at your suppliers, and this is the example I was talking to you, asking your suppliers what level of effort they're doing for you. Or let's say if you have someone who is testing, and then you're paying, and then you can look at the contract, and then you can extrapolate the effort they're putting. It's same for the external ecosystem, the extended ecosystem. But what's interesting, it's at the end that you get a total. And when possible, try to look at how you can move from extended ecosystem to a more partners, in this case a startup that we would use, but in this case, if we're to use them, better to use them as partners and get them involved soon, and really share risk, also share the vision. And so the challenge for you to optimize your innovation ecosystem, the closed and the extended innovation ecosystem, is to have more than 50% of the resources that you have into your program that are coming for these guys. The 50% is really interesting. What it means is if you have one full-time equivalent internally into your program, it means that you also have support from external, from another full-time equivalent. So what it means for the financial people, it's kind of a leverage. So if we would have like a team of, let's say, 3 full-time equivalent internally in that program, we have another 3 external. So we have a full 6 full-time equivalent. And this is that leverage. It's really appreciated by a management team. So last but not the least, as a conclusion, when it comes to the external ecosystem, so if you want to see the future coming, 90% of what you will learn is from external or of your industry. I'll give an example, especially for the business model and customer experience. I think there's not much to be invented. It is how you can transfer this from one industry to another. That's the end of this video. I hope you liked it, and looking forward to see you in the next video. Cheers.
If you haven't already done so, you can get your hands on our popular 60-page visual guidebook for free. Click the link in the description below. Don't hesitate to watch the next video to learn even more about innovation management practices.